Hello and welcome back. It has been a while. Summer is coming to an end quite soon here, and I haven't posted since June. How great is that? I've decided, since I'm just going to use my platforms to scream into the void, why not talk about my shrooms experiences as of late, because I've had plenty this summer, but particularly my most recent one, and some thoughts that came up about there's some noise outside, about the nature of reality and the duality of reality, and some interesting sci-fi concepts that came up when I was watching my boyfriend play cyberpunk on shrooms. It's been really fun. I usually do shrooms for therapeutic purposes. I meditate and do yoga typically when I'm on shrooms, and it's honestly great. I've been able to tap into deeper levels of consciousness. I've been able to, in this insane sense, mentally, physically, spiritually transcend. When I'm in deep meditation, it's crazy. Like, all of your senses are blended in together. Cold feels like sound, and it's just immense and insane. But I'm not going to be talking about that today. I'm going to be talking about my most recent trips, where a lot of interesting things came up when I was going down for a walk to the beach, and also, again, watching my boyfriend play cyberpunk. As a girl who loves psychedelics and science, I've been deep diving a lot into physics, into quantum mechanics particularly. Previously, I was very spiritually skeptical, so I had to understand the science behind energetic senses that I feel was feeding into my intuition and what that intuition meant to me, and just to really understand the nature of my reality without it being so woohoo when I deep dive into spirituality. So let's start off with the cooler facet, which was watching my boyfriend play cyberpunk. And if you guys don't know what cyberpunk is, or have never played or watched the animations for it, cyberpunk is a futuristic, I want to say kind of semi-near future, because the most recent one was cyberpunk 2077, dystopian look into society, where people live in like this mega city that's a night city. It's very dense. It's tiered, and then there's the nomads who live in like the Badlands, which is like the natural wasteland of this universe setting, or at least this world setting. To start off, I was watching my boyfriend play cyberpunk, and I was tripping out. But some cool caveats that I noticed, starting with the societal aspect of cyberpunk and how it relates to our current reality, or at least where things seem to be going. In the cyberpunk reality, these dopamine abused products and tech growth are just unchecked, and this makes way for like big corporate greed, and that corporate greed thriving. It's crazy. And they're thriving in the sense that they are using and manipulating the populace through their addictive services. So there's a plethora of drugs, both corporate produced and street produced, obviously for those who cannot afford the corporate drugs. And it keeps people addicted. And you know what happens when people get addicted? They crave and desire your services and will essentially do anything to obtain those products. So you can only imagine what that implies in this society. There are mega corporations that are only slightly rivaled by drug gangs and gangs in general. So essentially, these corporate and gang cultures really dictate the society in this reality. And because of all that greed, really it's just breeding inequality and a lack of equity throughout. And the scary part of this is it feels so near future, in the sense that, goddamn, and this is making me realize a lot about how I use platforms. We are no different from these drugs. Platforms and technologies these days are genuinely engineered to be addictive, to keep us on our phones, to keep us numb, to keep us wanting more. And the people who engineer and make these services and platforms, as much as they're great tools, they continue to design them to keep us in that hole. Is that not what we're seeing now? Is that not a trajectory that is not making its path right now? Like, I'm very guilty of this. Social media addiction, food addiction, everything is just engineered perfectly to tweak and manipulate and really wreak havoc on our nervous system. It's like so neurally deep. You know, people, that happens with drugs and drug use. These drugs affect your neural and physiologic systems. So essentially, these are corporations and gangs that are hijacking individuals to the neural core. Like, that's insane. And the psychological core, really, because it is developing addictions, and they prey on addictions and those who are privy and weak to them, which is like pretty much all of us. Our biological makeup is not evolving as fast as our technology is. So they're 10 steps ahead, making profiles of what keeps us going, what keeps us addicted, and scaling that data and information just to continue to build their corporate greed. It's crazy. The other facet of cyberpunk that really intrigued me was the portrayal of later stage capitalism. We're already in late stage capitalism now. In the cyberpunk society, cities are structured by tiers. Like, the structure of the cities themselves perfectly portray how capitalism distributes members of society. So because these cities are tiered and highly dense, you see, you know, the more impoverished living in the lower levels of the city, whereas, you know, the top 1%, those citizens just continue to live in the higher parts of the cities, being carried by the members who live in the lower tiers of society. And I hate to create those distinctions because I wish there was more equality in the world, but that's literally how it's portrayed. In the lower tiers of the city, it gets really crummy, you know, like the streets are dirty, addicts are everywhere, there's visible poverty, incredibly visible poverty. In the higher parts of the city, you know, you have your high rises, you know, clean, minimalistic, futuristic. The portrayal of this is like a perfect example of capitalist hierarchies socioeconomically, where marginalized communities sit at the bottom sectors, carrying the burden of the rich, greedy living at the top. And it's just trickle-down capitalism. Evident trickle-down capitalism. You can just see how these cities are laid out and how the power dynamics in the society are just unfolding, where the corporate and the gang leaders, where they're just creating captive markets of addicts to keep their power and control. Made me realize, like, I mean, that's what mega corporations are doing now. Facebook owns Instagram, Google owns YouTube. Like, these mega corporations are just continuing to capitalize these markets to keep their power and control. And we are staying privy to their services because now they've been so ingrained in society, and they're important and they're great tools when used correctly. But as time progresses and technology and its implications are not regulated, that corporate greed is going to continue to trickle down and physically structure our society and our economics and our politics to keep that inequality in check. So some really cool sci-fi concepts that came up that really just tickled my brain while I was watching cyberpunk unfold. There is this technology that they had where they were trying to investigate a scene of a crime, and they were able to visually see the crime play out, but also take on the emotions that happen too. And that just made me think, I mean, especially now with how big of a network the internet is, and AI is like trying to learn and understand sentience. Will tech become so neurally sophisticated so as to replicate intricate emotional experiences? Because that can be really good, but it can also be used for a buttload of manipulation. I mean, you see it now. You watch a video and you become sad. It's evoking an emotional response from you. So now if they create the neural networks, if they replicate neural networks that can seamlessly embed into our physiology, I mean, people already do electromagnetic therapy and shock therapy and all that stuff, things that just make those neural pathways fire. I'm not surprised that it'll get to a point where you can embed a piece of technology onto your body that can control your mood. You can set the tone of your mood, etc., etc. Like, that would be insane. So I want to relate these things to mushroom strips just because I get so much more insightful, because when you're on shrooms, parts of your brain that usually don't wire are firing like crazy. You see visual effects, you see and you can intuitively understand the interconnectivity of everything. So this made me start thinking about physics concepts like the multiverse theory and, you know, the theory of relativity. If you guys don't know the multiverse theory, I'm gonna read what the multiversal theory comes up as on the internet, but it says the theory posits that our universe is just one among many, possibly infinite other universes, collectively forming everything that exists. So anything that can exist pretty much does in this theory. Kind of tying it in with the theory of relativity. It's a physics concept that describes how space, time, and gravity are interconnected and are not absolute but relative to the observer's motion. So these two theories are really coming up for me when I was watching Cyberpunk. And kind of combining these two theories, I just wrote in my notes, aspects of reality have been proven to be relative and non-local, meaning quantum systems can be interconnected in ways not limited by spatial distance, a concept confirmed by the Nobel Prize-winning work on quantum entanglement. And quantum entanglement pretty much shows that, like, if two things are connected in any way, shape, how, if you do an action to one of those connected bodies, the other connected body will also produce a reaction. So even if they're spatially distanced, they will be reacting to whatever happens to the other, which is wild when you kind of understand it in an intertwining sense of everything that has been connected, which is like everything. So we're all constantly affecting each other. Wild. So these kind of theories just popped in my head because in relation to cyberpunk, it begets the idea that the cyberpunk reality does exist. Not in our direct experience in our 3D reality, but in parallel to it potentially, maybe even woven in our reality. There's this one cool theory that Brian Greene, one of my favorite physicists to watch, posits that if the fabric of reality is space and time, then it is woven by wormholes. And wormholes as a physics concept is just like a tunnel that connects one reality to another, or let's say one part of space-time to another. And it made me just start thinking, because these crazy stories and realities and universes like cyberpunk, like the Marvel universe, etc., are being shown to us, were these realities human created? Did we create them? Or are we just uncovering these different realities channeled through storytelling and creativity? It just feels like we're just getting a peek into a reality that seems so incredibly feasible. I mean, in true multiversal theory, they do exist if everything that can exist does. I mean, there are different universes and realities that could have different laws of physics even, which is crazy to me. But it just seems so close to ours, these dystopian realities and even the trajectory of our current reality, that it feels reflective. It doesn't feel very far-fetched from our own. And in a quantum sense, the reality of these realities is very much possible. I think about these like philosophical questions a lot, especially as I dive deeper into physics and science. It's like the more that I know, the more I feel like I don't know. Because there's so much left to be uncovered. Genuinely, I don't think we'll ever truly understand the nature of the universe. Maybe in some alternate reality, we do, as humans. But in the current state that we're at, in this lifetime, in my lifetime, I'm not so sure. But it's amazing to see the progress, the thought experiments, the real life experiments that are happening to really understand what the fuck is going on in this experience of life that we're given. So yeah, those were the thoughts that I was having during my shrooms trip, watching Cyberpunk. Another interesting thought that came up while I was tripping out and walking to the beach. So I live kind of like in a Studio Ghibli setting, let's say. I live on an island where there is oceans and mountains and loads of wildlife. So every time I walk to the beach, because I live walking distance to the beach, I see deer. And just wildlife. So I'm walking to the beach, and there is this plot of land by my house that is for sale, but it's closed off. So this 2 acres is closed off, but I have to walk by it to go to my favorite beach. And I'm tripping out. I'm walking down the beach. I'm hearing the birds sing, and it just feels and sounds like a very melodic chorus of birds humming in beautiful tones, and it's very whimsical. I'm walking by this private gated acreage of land, and I hear an animal noise that you do not want to hear an animal making. Let's just say it was in distress, and I was so upset hearing this distress. Like, if it wasn't closed off, I would have potentially checked it out. And it freaked me out though, Because like in the wild, in the true savage wilderness wild, would it be safe to check out the sounds of a dying animal? Probably not. But in my, I'm still in the suburbs here. This acreage of land is literally smack dab in the middle of my neighborhood. But there's a lot of wildlife around me. Like there's cougars, there's deer all the time, there's bears, and it just kind of upset me. I was having a bit of cognitive dissonance, however, because as much as I was hearing the birds sing melodically and beautifully, I was also listening to this very sad animal in despair. I couldn't tell you what it was. It was either a bird or a deer. Like I really couldn't tell you, and it was upsetting to me because it was loud and it needed help, but I couldn't get past the gates. But then I realized, yep, that both of those realities exist, both life and death at the same time, all the time, simultaneously. And it kind of just made me think, yeah, this world is crazy and chaotic and you can never predict it. And entropy is real. Obviously, it's a law of the universe and physics. So I guess this shroom strip, observing cyberpunk, our current reality, the relation to this dystopic reality, the progression potentially towards it, just how feasible this reality is in its actuality, as well as the conundrum of the universe where there is both life and death, birth and transformation. I think all I have to say really and understand from this is just embrace the chaos. Like if you can be a force of good in the universe, in this crazy, indifferent, ever-evolving universe, be that good, be conscious, and, enjoy life while it lasts with all the chaos and beauty intertwined. It's really all we have left to bear in this dizzying, ever-evolving universe. So we may as well dilly-dally amongst the stars while we can, dance into and embrace the unknown, because what the hell else am I going to do with my life? Anyways, this has been a chaotic chit-chat, and I will continue to do more psychedelics and more shrooms. It's not for everyone. It truly isn't. But it is for me, and the thoughts I have are meta. This is just the surface of the things I experience. But as I become more conscious and unpack my own psychology and seek to learn more about the universe, I think I will continue on my psychedelic journeys and maybe share it too. But I just thought to share these ideas and concepts, at least anybody else be interested in my ramblings. But also, if anyone has ever thought the same and enjoyed and both despaired in this sci-fi spiritual conundrum of concepts, I don't even know where I'm going anymore, but I hope you guys all have a great day. Dilly-dally along in the chaos of the universe and all its beauty, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.